everybody. Welcome to Recovering Perfectionist Mama, Grace in Progress. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. Happy to have you. Just to give you a little bit of information, I'm a women's lifestyle creator on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, covering topics such as marriage, children and parenting, lifestyle issues such as nutrition and fitness and wellness, as well as self-empowerment, self-improvement. Ultimately, I'm a big dork and I like to learn a lot of information about items and send them off to people and help them hopefully level up, which I will be releasing my leveling up planner very, very soon. Today, we're diving deep into something that may sound a little radical, but I believe it's absolutely essential: self-compassion. Not just the soft, fluffy kind, but radical self-compassion. The idea that you deserve the same kindness, gentleness, understanding you so freely give to others. And I'm sure most of you do freely give to others. If you've ever poured your heart into supporting a friend, encouraging someone else, being the safe place for someone else's growth, then you know the value of kindness. But how often do you turn that kindness inward? How often do you treat yourself with the same care? I know most of us would probably say not very often. Today, we're flipping that script. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's explore how to give yourself the kindness you give, how to build the muscle of self-compassion, how to shift from self-criticism to self-ally. Because yes, you deserve it. You deserve the same kindness that you give others. That's it. It sounds simple, but living it, that's radical. Because our culture often celebrates being tough, being self-sacrificing, being fine when we're not. But what if, just for one moment, you paused and asked, what do I need right now? What would I say to my best friend if they were in my shoes? And then, what if I said that to me? In the next half hour, we'll talk what self-compassion really means and what it doesn't. Why so many of us skip it, even when we give it to others. How radical self-compassion shows up in real life. Tools, practices, prompts you can start today. And how you can bring this into your ongoing growth in relationships. Ready? Let's roll. What's self-compassion? Let's start with definition and context. The term self-compassion was popularized by Kristen Neff. She describes it as having three core components: self-kindness versus self-judgment, treating yourself with care, warmth, not harsh criticism. 2, common humanity versus isolation, recognizing that suffering, failure, imperfection are part of being human. You're not alone in that. Mindfulness versus over-identification, being aware of your suffering in a balanced way, neither ignoring nor being consumed by it. And more recent views describe self-compassion as composed of 6 elements, adding reduced self-judgment, reduced isolation, reduced over-identification as key to mental and physical well-being, which is very important for all of us. Why is this important? Because research shows that people high in self-compassion tend to have lower anxiety, depression, rumination, fear of failure, and stronger resilience and better health behaviors. Win-win, right? So self-compassion is not weakness, it's wise, it's strong, it's radical because it goes against the you must always hustle, you must always grind, you must always be perfect voice. Why we skip it, even if we give it to others. If you're someone who is generous with others, offering support, empathy, listening, care, why is it so much harder to turn that toward yourself? Let's unpack a few reasons. Cultural conditioning. We often equate self-criticism with motivation. If I'm hard on myself, I'll do better. Or we feel that self-kindness is indulgence, laziness, and weakness. But research shows the opposite. Self-compassion increases motivation rather than undermining it. Fear of complacency. Many fear if I'm nice to myself, I won't push myself hard enough. But self-compassion supports learning and growth rather than blaming and being stuck. Habit of self-critique. We internalize the tough coach voice, the inner critic. It takes practice to shift into the warm coach voice. I've actually done a video on that if you're interested, or another podcast on that if you're interested. Survivor of neglect, trauma, or high expectation upbringing. When early life taught us that only perfection got love, we became hyper self-critical by habit. And giving ourselves compassion can feel foreign and unsafe. So the good news, you're not broken for finding self-compassion hard. It's normal. But the even better news, you can build it. That's the radical shift. What radical self-compassion looks like in real life. What do I mean by radical self-compassion? It's more than occasional self-care. It's a committed stance. I am worth my own kindness. I will treat myself like someone I deeply care about. It plays out in multiple areas of life. Let's explore through examples and mini scenes. Scene: you make a mistake at work or you miss a goal. Instead of the voice, "How stupid of me. I always mess up," you say, "Oof, that hurt. I'm human. What do I need right now? I'll give myself some space and tomorrow I'll make the next move." Scene: you are exhausted and want to cancel social plans to rest. Instead of guilt, "But I should power through," you say. "My body is telling me to rest. The world will not collapse. I'll let myself rest and show up when I can." Scene: you're in a relationship and your partner needs a lot from you. You recognize your generosity, but you also recognize your own limits. Instead of burning out, you practice boundary plus self-kindness. I can support them and I can also support me. In all these scenes, you're extending yourself the same care you'd extend a friend. That's the core shift. And the radical piece means you refuse to leave yourself out of your care circle. You include you. You stop being your own second-class citizen. Also, radical self-compassion includes fierce self-compassion, a term also used by Neff. Not just soothing, but sometimes standing up for yourself, saying no, and protecting your well-being. So yes, it's tender, but it's also courageous. Practical tools and prompts you can use today. Let's get hands-on here. Here are some tools you can use right now, right after this podcast, and into your everyday life, because theory is good, practice is better. The kindness pause. Whenever you notice negative self-talk, pause and ask, if my best friend were in this situation, what would I say to them? Then, what will I say to myself? And speak to yourself with that tone. Tool 2, a journal prompt. What do I need right now? Right? If I were taking care of my best friend who is feeling blank, fill it in, I'd say blank and do blank. Then write, so I will say to myself blank and do blank. Common humanity reminder. When you feel isolated and say, why does this happen to me? Pause and say, actually, many people experience this. Imperfection is part of being human. I'm not alone in this. This shifts isolation into connection. Mindfulness check-in. Close your eyes for 1 to 2 minutes. Notice your breathing. Notice the feeling of your body. Notice the emotional tone. Label it gently. Here is some difficulty. Here is some pain. Then, how can I greet this with kindness? Tool 5, fierce self-compassion boundary setting. Ask, what boundary do I need to preserve my well-being? Then, how can I enforce the boundary with compassion for myself and others? Example, saying, I'm sorry, I can't take that on right now, rather than overcommitting and burning out. And for ongoing practice, build a weekly ritual. Maybe Sunday evening you ask yourself, what did I do this week to show myself kindness? What slip-ups did I have? How can I do one act of radical self-care in this coming week? These practices build the muscle of self-ally. Bringing it into your growth, relationships, and work. Let's talk about how radical self-compassion becomes a foundation, not just a tool for deeper growth, healthier relationships, and better work results. In growth, when you're learning a new skill, launching a business, changing a habit, self-compassion keeps you in the game longer. Because you're not shut down by failure, you respond with curiosity, care, and action. Research shows that self-compassion increases motivation, not decreases it. In relationships, when you're compassionate toward yourself, you bring more authenticity, more boundaries, more emotional health into your interaction. You don't rely on others to fill the self-care gap. You're more whole. In work, instead of burnout, perfectionism, or relentless self-critique, you build a sustainable pace. Self-compassion helps reduce isolation, over-identification, and self-judgment, which in turn reduces stress and supports health. Also, you set a model. When you treat yourself well, others treat you well as well. You raise the standard, not in arrogance, but in self-respect. So radical self-compassion isn't just about you, it ripples out. So here's the vital piece. You've got to practice it. It's one thing to say you deserve kindness. It's another to give it to yourself when you're tired, when you fail, and when you feel unseen. That's where the radical part comes in. So in closing, let's wrap up. If there's one takeaway I want you to remember is this. You are worth the same kindness you freely offer others. When you slip into the pattern of self-criticism, ask, if this were happening to someone I love, how would I respond? Then give the response to you. And commit to one small act of radical self-compassion today. Maybe it's going to bed early. Maybe it's saying no to one more thing. Maybe it's writing yourself a kind note. Maybe it's simply pausing and saying, I'm going to give myself the same care I give my friend. Thank you for being here with me, choosing growth and choosing kindness, inward as well as outward. If you found value in today's episode, please consider subscribing, reviewing, and sharing with someone who needs to hear this. And if you're ready to take it deeper, I've got a leveling up planner that I'm going to be releasing here soon, so listen for that. And until next time, be kind to you because you deserve it. Stay bold, stay kind, and stay radically you.